And I don't really care what goes on behind the scenes. I just want to watch football. Okay?
Exactly. And we all know that none of this is name, image, and likeness. So the way this was originally set up was the idea that you can, instead of schools profiting off your name, image, and likeness, video games and selling jerseys, now the kids can do it. You can go out and you can sign a deal with a car dealership. You can go do commercials. You can, sell your own CDs or, download your music if you're an artist. None of those things used to be legal. Remember, there's been people before that are actually talented musicians and they weren't allowed to sell music because it was profiting off their name, image, and likeness. But that's not what this is. It's none of it. No one's getting anything out of this. This is just a matter of boosters now have gotten together collectives. They put together, whether it's Mountain Lake Futures or, Roll Tide Row. So they put together these collectives where there's a big pot of money and it goes to keeping your athletes and it goes to getting high school athletes. And this isn't supposed to be a pay to play. You're not supposed to be able to offer and say, hey, if you come to our school, you get X. But we've already seen it where kids not only are getting that, but kids are getting like the kid at Tennessee, the Nico, I forget what his last name is.
He's the
Iyamaleava, I think.
Yeah. He got a $7 million deal.
Yeah.
Every year.
He's the one where they sent a private jet to pick him up. And now they're saying that's illegal.
And this isn't supposed to, you're not supposed to have any affiliation with the school.
Right.
The school can't
the collective is separate.
Is separate, but it's not separate. In fact, I know
it's backwards logic. If the money's going to the kids that play for the school, of course it's connected to the school.
It's so dumb because every school has every school has a guy that his sole job is to tell the collective what they need. So, these guys that are directors of player personnel and whatever, part of their job is to go to the collective and be like, hey, we got a kid that had a breakout season. I'm gonna need $750,000 to keep this.
This is what he says it'll take to get here, and we need it from you now.
And you're going to these people and be like, hey, we're after a 5-star recruit. I need $10,000 to get this kid even on campus. And if we're gonna land him, if we have any hope, I'm gonna need $1.5 million. So it's just the dumbest thing in the world that there's even remotely rules attached to this, including a private plane. This is so stupid.
All right. So what you need to know is that Tennessee last summer was penalized for more than 200 rules infractions just in the football program.
Yes.
The NCAA Committee on Infractions declared that case one of the worst they had ever seen. They had 18 level 1 violations.
Was that the one that included giving cash to recruits in McDonald's bags or something?
I don't know about that, but it said it included around $60,000 in impermissible inducements and benefits for recruits. So now, because of that, this could get really hairy and have significant consequences. Of course, Tennessee is pushing back, like the chancellor said, and she said, well, what the hell? There's no rules on this stuff.
Oh.
You just send out these weird memos and nothing makes sense and it's all contradictory.
Yeah, it's like what Jim Harbaugh was dealing with when he tried to go down the road of, I just bought some hamburgers and some players. No, you didn't. You did what everyone else.
Drink their haterade and eat their hater tots.
You did what everyone else did. You paid a bunch of kids to come to your campus and you said, we'll give you a bunch of more money if you come here.
Yeah, Harbaugh basically said, I think the rules are dumb. I'm going to do whatever I want because they're not going to do anything to me. And then he played whatever game he wanted.
Yeah.
According to a New York Times report, one element of the NCAA's investigation is a collective using a private jet to fly heralded 5-star quarterback recruit Nico Iyamaleava. I'm going to leave you.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave you unless you give me a bunch of cash.
I'm going to leave you unless you fly me out on the PJ.
Yeah.
Flying him to campus during his recruitment, having a booster group pay for the trip is a violation of NCAA rules.
Yeah. Because again, that goes down to we're still recruiting, and believe it or not, in recruiting, you can't have a booster pay for a kid to go to school, even though you can have a booster technically promise him money that if he comes to school, he'll get it. This is why Tennessee is like, this is stupid.
Well, I also think that Tennessee is probably going to win this because they'll fight. And schools have been fighting the NCAA. Like, I feel like now the NCAA has so little teeth that schools just lawyer up.
Yeah.
And the NCAA backs off.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all you have to do.
I mean, they suspended Harbaugh for a little bit, I guess. So
yeah, but that wasn't the NCAA. That was the Big Ten.
That's true. The NCAA is still investigating. We'll see what comes out of that.
Yeah, they'll have their investigation concluded in the year 2045. I mean, the NCAA it really is a joke.
It's stupid.
So nobody probably even cares about this, and nothing will probably come of it because it's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
But it does seem like the NCAA's got to be in its bonnet over Tennessee based on what happened last year, and
well, it says
now they're just calling them out. They're like using them as the shining example.
Well, I just love that really what we're telling people now is, dude, do whatever you want, but can you not flaunt it? Like, don't send the private jet to pick the kid up. Like, don't be a jackass.
But my thing is, if this collective is paying for it anyways, and it's coming out of their pocket, like, who cares? Like, could they say, oh, all right, fine, we'll give the kid, $20K less, and we'll just fly him on our private jet? Like,
but I guess the idea is at some point you can't say that there's not recruiting rules, because there's dead periods. You can't.
It feels like we're making rules after the castle's already crumbled. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, technically, you still can't buy mom and dad a house. You can't, there are some things that you can't do. Again, the Herm Edwards, like, there has to be some form of guidelines.
But you can give a kid $7 million in cash for his parents to buy their house. I mean, that's not that different.
That is true. But you have to wait until he's on campus. You can promise him, but you can't give it to him before he comes there, because you can't have pay for play.
And listen, I'm with you. I think there needs to be some sort of regulation, because right now it's just the wild, wild west. But it's odd that they open this Pandora's box and they're like, oh no, look at everything that's coming out.
All I know is I don't feel bad. If Tennessee gets dinged, I'm going to look at you, because I've said this all along. If you get caught doing things in this day and age, you're just dumb. You're the criminal that falls asleep behind the wheel. Like, that's to do the Goodfellas thing. Like, you got caught. You robbed the bank and then you fell asleep in the getaway car. If you get caught, it's because you're that stupid. Because there's a million ways now to fudge whatever stupid rules there are, and you can funnel things through a million different things to not get caught. But if you're dumb enough to just have a booster go on his private jet, a booster that's affiliated with the school in the NIL, and pick this kid up and drop him off at Tennessee and funnel him around, that's on you. That's for being stupid. So I have no sympathy for you getting caught, because you can do whatever you want now. Just don't be an idiot.
Well, that's where the lack of institutional control starts. If you aren't able to control your collective and they're doing whatever they want to do with the recruits, that's going to become a problem.
Yeah. There are some that believe that the NCAA, when they didn't hit Tennessee with the postseason ban last year, because they said this is one of the worst cases they've ever seen.
Yeah.
When Tennessee did not get a postseason ban, many believe that signaled the end of them ever banning anyone for postseason ever again.
Yeah.
So I don't know what will come of this. I was just reading about the Volunteers. They call it the Volunteer Club, their NIL collective.
Yeah.
It is operated by Knoxville-based Spire Sports Group.
Spire, I think, is how they say it. Yeah.
Yeah, they say it's one of the most prominent in the country, and it has more than 4,000 members. And they had struck deals with Tennessee athletes in 11 sports. One thing I think that is actually kind of cool about the collectives is that, anybody can be a part of it now.
Yeah.
It's
you can bring together the most passionate fans and say, how much do you really care? Put your money where your mouth is. That's
right.
Cool.
And that is cool, because that's kind of, this is not unlike, and we bring up this example all the time. I'm sure there are other examples, but it was one we remember most, and we always talk about it. But go back to the Cal thing, where Cal said, we can't fund these stupid sports. If you want to save these stupid sports, save them yourselves.
Yeah.
And
they did.
And some of them they did, some of them they didn't. But the rugby program there at Cal, nobody knows this, but Cal's rugby program is historic. They've won multiple championships, and it was an important enough program, I think, that they saved it.
Yeah, I think
and baseball as well.
For a couple of those, I think they raised like $7 or $10 million in the span of a couple months, and they said, cool, these programs are there.
How is this any different than that? Just going in and digging into your fans' pockets.
Yeah.
Right? And booster, fan, what's the difference?
And if the fans are cool with it and the school's cool with it, why does anyone else care?
Well, that's what I mean, right? It's like this is the way it should be.
Well, what should be is that the schools actually are allowed to pay the players and revenue.
Yeah, so you don't have to go through this.
Well, true, but I just mean, this is way better.
This is way better.
And it just needs regulation. It needs guardrails.
If Georgia wants to pay their players, they should be able to pay their players. I've said this for years, that even when if people were so freaked out about paying players directly, I said that the school should be able to do whatever they want for them. You want to give them cars, you want to give them apartments, you want to give them TVs, all that stuff, fine. Because you're doing it anyways. At least now we've cut out the middleman and kids just get cash. By the way, Oregon, number 3 on the in the recruiting rankings.
Yeah.
And the average NIL for like the top program. So Georgia was 1, Bama was 2, and you're in the mid 6, like 150 to 170 is the average recruit NIL that goes to one of those top programs.
You're saying that it costs $150,000 to get the average recruit?
Well, to get Georgia or Alabama's average recruit. So some obviously are going to get more.
And
some are going to get
what?
Oregon's was like 112, and they were like
so
third.
The average kid.
Yeah.
Who average? They're an athlete.
Yes.
And they're a scholarship athlete.
Yes.
They go to Oregon. They're getting on average $112,000.
Yes.
In some sort of deal.
Yes.
Whether that be cash or...
When you step foot on campus, that is the average. And obviously that's going to be skewed because if you go and get a quarterback, he's going to be getting $1 million plus.
Maybe they get paper epiphanies trade.
I would hope so. Strong women rule the world. And we know for a 5-star kid to go on campus, it's 10 grand. It's 10 G's that you have to pay him to even get him to show up. It's the going rate for a quarterback in the transfer portal is anywhere from $1 million to $2 million if you want to go get those. I'm sure Dylan Gabriel got $1.5 million, $2 million to come sign up for Oregon. Jabbar Muhammad.
And wait, so the Oregon Collective is called what?
It is something street.
Didn't Phil Knight set that up?
I don't know if he directly set it up, but he certainly is a part of it, and Kilkenny and all that.
Division Street. Yeah, it's just all the booster.
Yes.
I mean, it's no...
Yeah. And what most schools...
It does include film.
And then if I wanted to throw 10 Gs, I could.
Yeah, and what most schools do now is they just...
take some of the burden off of Phil. He's hurting a little bit.
Yeah, they just come up with a pot, and then in conjunction with the school, wink, wink, nod, nod, the school tells you what they need for each guy and to go out and get. And like Oregon does a Jordan shoe every year. They do these player edition Jordan shoes. They put those up for auction. They'll auction off like 100 pair of them, and all that money that's raised goes into the collective. And some of the bids on those shoes are insane.
And they were doing that with the football games this season. They were having the shoe scepter where they're signing them, and so some of them have autographs and things like that.
And all that goes to the collective. And most schools now have a universal salary. And Texas, I think, was the first one to start this. If you were an O lineman at Texas, it was 50 G's. Miami did a universal income for every player that I think was 30. I mean, God, BYU does it. I think BYU, it's like 12. But at least there is. And I want to say the UW one, I don't know what the Oregon's is. I've heard different rumors about Oregon that it's somewhere in the 40 to 60 range. But I think at UW, pretty good authority that UW's is about 35 or 40 minimum. If you're on that roster, you have that. The worst kid on the roster. That you're getting that no matter what.
So if you're at Division Street.
Yeah.
So the founders of Division Street are Phil Knight, Pat Kilkenny, Ed Miletus, and Jim Morris.
Yeah, if you don't know, by the way, those are all Miletus Beverage and
heavy hitters.
Heavy hitters.
But Phil Knight, Knight's in another category.
Yeah, he's a different guy.
So if you're those guys, or even just lesser people, I don't mean less. I just mean you're just somebody who wants to help out Oregon athletics. So you're a part of Division Street, and you give, let's say, $250,000 a year or something.
Yes.
Does that bother you that you're helping Phil Knight pay for Oregon players? Because it's like, well, Phil can...
Yeah, you get stuff out of it, though. You get seats on planes, and you get tickets, and you get access, and,
Yeah, that's true.
When you're donating to that level, the one that I not feel bad for, but they do a lot of there's like, hey, give us your $200. Like every dollar helps. And I'm like, really?
Yeah, that's just donating to the Alumni Association or whatever.
Yeah.
I still get those offers from Kansas.
And now they want you to donate to the NIL.
Well,
they want you to donate to the collective.
actually like the latter better. I never donate to the university otherwise.
Yeah.
But you want to see those Rock Chalk Jayhawks raise another banner. So pony up for the collective.
We need a cornerback. So you can get my $50.
Someone asking, is there a cap? No, you can spend whatever you want. If a school raises,
it's all about what you raise.
It's all about what you raise.
This is why when Oregon State and Washington State were going through their BS, this is why I said, hey, some of this NIL stuff gives you a chance to compete. It's hustle. I got to tell you, man, I follow all the stuff that goes on at Kansas.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you, there has never been a worse football program than Kansas in recent years. There just hasn't.
It's rough.
But I read up, know some people out there, and dude, they have stepped up to the tune of a lot of money to not only renovate their stadium, but try to compete in the NIL world. Now, they're never going to be Alabama or Oregon or whatever, but they're doing they're hitting the pavement and they're doing their best to keep up.
Yep.
And you can do that. Like, I get that Oregon State doesn't have the resources, or Washington State doesn't have the resources of Oregon or Washington or whatever. I get that. They never have. But you can tap into it would seem to me that there's a level of hustle here that if you put in the work, you're going to be able to squeeze more money that could be really useful, rather than just sit and bitch about, we're just behind the 8 ball and now we're screwed. No, get out there and hustle just like everybody else has to.
If you don't raise money or NIL, you will not be playing with the big boys. Plain and simple. End of story.
Now, you don't have Phil Knight.
No.
But you got some money boosters down there.
One of the things that gets tossed around a lot with the BYU program is, it's BYU.
Yeah.
It's BYU.
The
but
church.
The church is worth over $100 billion.
Yes.
And there are some people that look, you've talked about how this is the doorstep of the church and, the face of it and all this. And, how about you spend some of that tithing money? How about you spend some of that $100 billion on that
Think
football
about the
program?
exposure you could get for the LDS
Well,
church if you just invested in some players.
They don't spend any.
They don't?
No, they don't spend any money on it.
The church won't let him?
No.
Wow.
Well, it's the church's money. I mean, but
Well, they won't help out their own football program?
no. And I think it would be absolutely hilarious if the church, the leaders, whoever it is now, come down from his mountain and is like, you know what? We'd like to announce our presence in college football with authority. And here's $4 billion out of our $100 billion.
Dude, that's kind of stone cold that they don't.
Yeah, they don't.
They don't do any. They are so wealthy.
Nope.
And they can't kick down.
They don't do it. It's long been the talk amongst some that if they wanted to,
They could.
they wanted to throw their weight behind it, it would be something else, because that is a very, it's estimated over $100 billion.
Yeah, they're rich as hell. They get 10% of your money no matter
what. They make Phil look like, what's Phil worth?
Oh, I have no idea.
17 bill or whatever?
Oh, probably more than that.
They make Phil look like chump change.
What is Phil Knight's net worth?
He's not worth what the LDS church is worth.
$41 billion.
The church is worth double that.
Yeah, and yet they won't help out their own football team.
They could laugh at Phil. I want them to just
Who's hoarding all that money?
I don't know.
What are they spending that on?
I don't know. Apocalypse bunkers, I couldn't tell you.
Jesus. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Again, I'll just say this. We got a break, but I've suggested this before, and everybody laughs at me. The Saudis got a lot of money, man.
Cougs!
Live college football?
Let's go!
And they want
the Live-sponsored Beavs coming back with a vengeance?
God, it'd be amazing. It'd be the best thing ever.
the Saudis are trying to get into American sports.
God, just sell them the Oregon State football team.
Let's have a meeting.
Let's go.
Yes.
Instead of Oregon
Sell
State,
out.
the Live Beavers.
You want to get back at Phil Knight and the Ducks and all those cocky ass.
Boom.
Yeah.
Saudis, baby.
That's it.
Yes.
And be unapologetic about it.
And your recruit, that Live plane that they have, that's your team plane. You're flying to games on the Live plane.
Now, you may have to have the Saudi oil baron's kid as the kick returner.
That's
and
fine.
He may fumble a few times,
fine.
but just you can put up with that.
Yeah, we'll deal with it.
We'll deal
with it later.
You'll have nice things.
Nicest facilities in the world.
Telling you.
Everyone gets a Falcon.